Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the post show where we break things down from the service and discuss, how it impacted us. So, my name's Perry. You just saw me up on stage a little bit ago, but we also have some other people with us. So go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Okay, I'm Andy. You saw me a little bit ago as well.
Yeah.
I'm Kathy.
I'm Elizabeth.
Oh,
I forgot I was
Elizabeth
next.
forgot her name.
You also saw me earlier.
All right. Well, let's dive right in, guys. What was the highlight of today's service for you guys?
I think for me, just being a parent, now a grandparent, and I was a single parent for 18 years, so I could relate to all the three different types of parenting at different times, like being a lifeguard parent, Etch-a-Sketch parent, a split decision. That wasn't as prevalent, but it more so when I got remarried and became blended family.
Right.
So, but the lifeguard parent to me, I tried not to be that. That was something I was very, because I didn't really have room to let my kids rescue them because I was doing it alone a lot. And so I wanted to make sure there will be a consequence. There's a consequence to everything, positive and negative. And we always think of consequence as just negative, but truthfully, it's also a positive thing. You do this well, you get good grades, we trust you more, you get more privilege.
Yeah.
So to me, it goes both ways, but really just that to label them like that for young parents or people who are raising children now in their household, I think was very helpful to kind of, these are the good, these are the dangers of some of this, and these are things you want to avoid.
For sure. Well, you guys.
I mean, I just, it's a great Sunday here at Connection. So good worship, excellent pre-show, great
Yes, of course.
message. So it's one of those things. So it's just,
Excellent pre-show,
but
if I do say so myself.
it's one of those things where you can look back and go, oh, I'm glad God put the right person in my life that balances me out. And it's funny when, you when you feel that and you marry that person, how God definitely, where I fall short, she picks up, and where she falls short, I pick up. So there's some questions I'm sure you'll ask later that I'll have more to espouse upon.
Absolutely. What about you, Elizabeth? What was the highlight of today's service for you?
The
Sit
highlight.
next to Andy.
No, that was
Okay.
the worst. The highlight was probably worship for me today, especially
Nice.
specifically the last song.
Nice.
And then this last service, I don't know what, it was just cool. This service, I felt like people were really worshiping and getting into it, and then I was crying, all the things.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Yes, it really touched you. That's very cool.
Yep.
Probably my highlight today was that there were a few teenage girls who decided to start putting clothespins on people that had little verses on them. It was a bit of a prank, but
Did
also...
they get you?
Oh, they got me twice.
Oh, they got
Then
me once.
Wait.
they tried to get me right before. It was
Check
like,
yourself,
wait, did
Andy.
I?
I feel it. I'm sitting down.
They got you, you think?
No, once.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But they were very, very bad about it because I could feel it early on, and
Yeah.
I'm like, and they're like, "We're gonna get Perry before he goes on stage." I was like, "Hopefully, you're better than when you tried to get me."
Yeah, they tried that. They failed. I saw them up there in the front row, and I was like, nah, not going to happen. But that was funny. It just was, I like that they feel comfortable to do that kind
Heck
of
yeah,
stuff.
definitely.
Yeah. All right, so here's our first question about the message. Have you seen any of the examples of undisciplined parenting in you or your parents, or maybe your adult children, or some other random couple that you don't want to name? If so, share an example and how it turned out.
I'll share a quick funny story about undisciplined parents because we were at a birthday party years ago, and there was this kid in the bouncy house jumping around, knocking over everybody, being a complete little jerk. And this mom over there was bragging about how we don't let Billy watch Power Rangers or this or that. And I was like, "Is that Billy?" And she's like, "Billy!" And I was like, "Yeah, I let my kids watch that. And guess what? He's the nice one picking kids up." So, I was but no, we were very disciplined, and I think, like you mentioned earlier, it does help. My dad was good about disciplining when you did something wrong, and then also complimenting when you did something right. And for me, when I got to high school, it was like I didn't have any sort of curfew. It was like, hey, if you're going to be late, call us and let us know. And I wish my sister would have figured that out early on because her life would have been easier through high school. But me, I was the dork who just either all my friends came over to our house and we didn't go anywhere, or I just call them and be like, hey, I'm late. I'll be home soon.
Yeah.
And it was fine.
Yeah, I experienced the same thing as a kid. I was not very well behaved in like elementary school, early middle school, and then all of a sudden I figured it out where I was like, life is not very good when you make mistakes like that, and, or
Yeah, when you
or
fight
just-
against what your parents tell you
fight
to do.
against them. So then in high school it was a lot easier. So
We just couldn't say sucks. My mom hated that word, and she'd pull your hair every time you said
Oh my
it.
gosh.
And I still try to say it as much as I can now that I'm 45 years old in front of her.
Yeah, I see how it is.
Does she still pull your hair?
She tries, but I dodge.
The things we do as we get older.
I know, just to keep our parents on their toes.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, ladies? And Kathy, you kind of shared one early, but Elizabeth, do you have a story?
I don't think so.
You've never seen an example of this before?
Well, like, I like, yeah, but it's like hard to putting it just in the example of like, well, obviously I'm not a parent. But like with my parents, like my brother got grounded once and that was it for all of us. Like
You saw that and like, I'm not doing that.
no, and it's just like, and I don't remember my parents ever being mean, and I don't know what they did, but they did something right because it was like, we never really got in trouble. This does not really pertain to this, but it does a little bit.
Rabbit
The
trail.
thing I got in trouble the most for, not chewing my chicken. I couldn't, my back teeth were not lined up. They didn't know, but my mom would make crock pot chicken and it was just dry and not good. But I couldn't chew it because my back teeth weren't chewing. And so I would sit there with the chicken in my mouth. Poor Austin, had to sit at the table until I was done. He did not like me. But, so that was what I got in trouble most for, that I remember, chewing my chicken. But
And then you got your teeth fixed and you can chew chicken.
yeah. But like, I don't know, like I think, hey, she's over there and she's saying, oh, it's so gross. That was so gross. But I don't know. I don't know what they did, but it's like I feel like naturally I just do the things they do in like terms of like babysitting. Like I try to be as fun as possible because my dad can't be serious for 2 minutes straight. So it's like, like I try to have fun, but it's also like you got to set up boundaries and that's just what it is, I don't know.
Well, and
Just
having seen the
babysitting.
Brubaker kids grow up, I don't actually recall a situation when you guys were in high school or younger where Steve ever came and was like, yeah, my kids, let me tell you. Like it sounded like you guys were pretty well behaved kids.
It's because he has this weird way of like getting children to be in his little like posse, he calls it an army.
Yeah, his
Yeah.
little
And
army.
we were all just in his little,
You were part of his army.
Part of his
That's
army.
Funny.
That is
That's
funny.
funny.
but yeah, so it's just like, I don't know. These messages are like, I know, good for me to hear for future, blah, blah, blah. But like, it's just so interesting because like having grown up in the house that I grew up in, it's just like, a lot of this is like, oh yeah, like, duh.
Yeah, that makes
But
sense.
like, there's a lot of people that don't grow up in houses like that. So
Right. Yep.
I'm like, I'm glad that I'm like, duh, instead of like, anyhow.
Makes
Like,
total
ugh.
sense. Makes total sense. Well, if you guys have a story you'd like to share, put it in the chat.
Yes.
We'd love to hear your funny stories of parenting fails. So, all right, let's move on to the next one. All right, it's not going to do it. All right, I'm just going to read it here.
You can read it for us.
If there was a parenting expectation that stood out to you, why? If not, what is a parenting expectation that you would add to the list? So we had 3 different parenting expectations we did at the end. Was there one that stood out? If not, what would you add? These were right away, all the way with a happy heart. So that was an expectation
That's a
for
mouthful.
kids. It is, but it's effective.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
The next one was don't respond in anger or don't discipline in anger. And then the last one was a little bit longer. It was when you give consequences, do so with instruction and restoration. So did any of those stand out to you? If so, why? If not, is there another thing that would maybe stand out?
I'll make mine brief, but yes, the disciplining in anger. my dad, when we were younger, sometimes we get spanked because we would do things we shouldn't do. And I remember one time my brother just turned weird and the belt hit his leg wrong and it left a mark. And my dad, from that point on, never spanked again. He felt so bad about it. Even though he didn't do it out of anger, he was like, son, make sure you never discipline out of anger because you don't want anything like that to happen because kids can turn or do, so crazy. So that stuck with me forever. So I remember I never did that. And one time CPS was called to our house, which was a scary moment for me because I showed up from work. There's a white van and I'm like, and Angie runs the door. She's like, don't freak out. I'm like, freaking out, okay. And they had to talk to us because Skylar got a brand new bed. And I was picking him up and throwing him on his bed. And he was telling his friends and a teacher heard. And he got scared thinking he was going to get in trouble. So he goes, my dad pushed me down on the bed. And that was it. So they had to ask me stuff. And I was like, I never discipline out of anger or when I'm mad. I'll go take a walk or something to calm down. And then I will talk to him after that. And they were like, perfectly fine. But I was just most nervous I've ever been as a parent.
Yeah, that's scary. I totally get that. Yeah. How about you guys?
I think the discipline with instruction is helpful and something I try to do because, and another line I would say is like, I love you too much to let you behave that way because it's really about loving them and helping them to change their behavior. And I always told my kids, you can disagree with me. You can have a voice because I felt like when I was growing up, children were to be spoken to, only to speak if spoken to. And I hated that. Like I did not. I was not allowed to say my view on anything, and it was very frustrating. And so with my kids, I said, you can always tell me, and you can disagree with me all you want if I make a decision, and you can plead your case even, but you can't yell or swear at me. Like if you're doing it just totally disrespectful, I'm not going to listen. But if you're calm and say, Mom, could you consider this, or and what about this? And, if they had a good reason, I would say, oh, I hadn't really considered that side of it, and we would make an adjustment. But otherwise, and after they said it, if I disagree, if I still thought my part was right, I'd say, okay, this is it, but thank you for sharing. Because I wanted them to know they could come to me with anything. And I think that's the one thing I would add is just always tell your kids you love them so much that you would rather them come to you even if something's horrible because I would tell them, I don't want you to suffer alone. Because if you feel like you don't have someone and your parents you can't trust them with your heart and like all the, especially when you get to high school, man, it's happening. Middle school, it's such a hard time in your life that you need to be able to go to your parents and say, I'm dealing with this. This is happening to me or my friend, and have that support because I would just hate that they were suffering without being able to tell me and for me to come alongside them, not to rescue, but to come along and help with solutions. So I think that's important.
It is so important to be able to discipline your kids while maintaining relationship. And to be able to actually still talk and have conversations. And, I agree with you completely. Like the ability to hear their perspective and to understand where they're coming from. I think that's important. Because it's really easy as a parent because you have the position of authority to just be like, nope, I already know everything about this situation and here's your consequence, and it's not always black and white, as we mentioned during the service. Like sometimes there's some nuances that are important to know.
Yeah. And sometimes you do just have to do black and white because that's what the
sure.
situation calls for.
For sure.
But the other times, and they can always come after or swing around and come and tell you too. So I just think that's important that they have a voice and can be heard because we want them to be able to have discussions with their spouses one day and their children one day in a healthy way.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I like that you said that because we've had some friends where Xander will come in and say something and they're like, wow, he just tells you guys anything, huh? I'm like, yeah, and there's like sometimes I'm like, hey, bro, you don't have to tell me everything. But there's, like you said, I'm super thankful they are because if there's ever anything that goes on, I would rather, I've told them like, look, I can't fix everything, but I can be there with you and I can try to help as much as I can. So it's nice when you have that relationship, but your kids know they can come to you with anything.
Yeah, and to add on that, I would tell my kids, if you get yourself in a situation where you did something bad and that you're regretting, if you come to me and tell me first before I hear it in the community, your consequences will be less. If I hear it from someone in the community that you did something, it's going to be a graver consequence than if you just come to me and tell me. And that happened with one of my children. They they kind of were acting a little weird and said, so Mom, if I was caught drinking, what would my consequence be? And I'm like, were you caught drinking? He's like, no. I said, but did you drink? He's like, yeah. And I said, okay, let's have a conversation. Like, how was it? And then I asked him, like, so what did you give up by choosing to drink? And he said, I gave up the ability to say I've never drank, because he was an athlete. And he said, I gave up that ability to say that again. I can't ever say that to anyone, that I've just stick to my sports and do the right thing. And he was like, so that's kind of sad, but he said it was kind of fun too, but and so we just had a big discussion about it, like what you give up in every choice you make, and how to be safe, and how to maybe avoid doing that in the future, of course.
Yeah.
But it was really good that he, I knew he wanted to say something, but
You can always tell with your kids when they want to say something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then he didn't really get big consequences, and his friends were freaking out that he told me, and he's like, well, but if she hears about it, I'm gonna get in bigger trouble. So
Yeah. Elizabeth, anything stand out to you?
Of the expectations?
Yes. Or was there one you would add?
Oh, I don't know. I can't think that quick
Yeah.
on an early morning. I don't know. I think the one that sticks out to me is the same one as Andy, but it's mainly just because my dad and I was just kind of sitting in the room, but was having a conversation with you about just kind of how my parents chose to parent every once in a while. And he said something that I guess I knew, but also I probably had no idea when I was a kid. But he said that if, say, one of me or my brothers did something to my mom and it made her mad, she was upset with us, she, unless it was emergency need to discipline, but my dad would be the one to discipline, so that it takes the emotion out of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, because you, what you were talking about with your dad, you can accidentally do something and then you're like, crap, why did I just do that? Just because you're so mad.
You're in
And
the
so
moment. It's unfortunate.
It was something that I'm I guess if I really think about it, I'm sure I could come up with oh yeah, I remember that happening, but I was young, so it's it was a good thing to hear and have in the back of my head for future one day me.
Well, I know that you
future
have
me.
to go pretty soon. Wait, before you go, I have a very specific question for you.
For me?
Have you and Zach had any of these conversations yet?
Oh my gosh. Oh boy.
No. No.
All right, put it on the list of serious questions
It's
and conversations you need to have.
Yeah, but
No buts. No buts. You guys have been dating a long time
Except
now.
yours in the
All right,
in the
let's
church
get out of
service.
here. Don't forget that conversation. Well, that's perfect timing, though, because we are all set for the rest of this, unless any of you have anything else you would like to add.
No, I thought it was a great message.
Great message.
Awesome. Well, if any of you have any questions that you would like to ask, go to our website and submit a question on the Submit Your Question form. Remember, it is totally anonymous. So if you want someone to follow up with you, don't use that version. Go to our Connect card instead, where it will ask for your personal information, and then we can go ahead and follow up with you that. But if there's any questions that you're even hesitant at asking, feel free to do so, because we don't even know who you are when you ask them. We would love to be able to answer those questions. We typically do that on our Wednesday night Q&A that we post. I think it's around 6 or 7.
Thursday.
Correction, Thursday night Q&A. I think there was a time it was on Wednesday, but Thursday night Q&A. That's posted that evening. And so we try to answer as much of those as we possibly can. So go ahead and do that if you'd like to. But thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you all again next week. Just remember that we love you and Jesus loves you too.